Welcome into the second episode of the Quest for the Sub 1 Hour Run series. In this episode I will fully explain a new game run and what's going on, so let's jump right into it. First of all, the record have to start on the character creation to avoid potential cheats. The only thing here is to not forget to set up yes to skip the tutorial, otherwise you're good to go again, and get your char a look you like or not, your choice here. Okay, so we are now into the game. Don't you worry, the timer won't start until your first input, so you're free to look around, double check your record if you need to be sure your run don't go to waste, and then just be ready, go to the toilet if you need to. As long as you're recording, everything is fine. So right now, the first thing we will do is opening the menu, and by that the timer will start, and we will unequip our boots. Why? I will explain to you soon. And then we will use the survivor's bags to acquire a lot of things. And this thing, we will sell them for money. Which money we will use to buy 17 adrenaline and the hotshot upgrade for our rifle. Why 17? Because we can't afford more, and since we don't break any crates, we can't get more at all. But luckily 17 is just enough to get us to Mother Route, which will be our first pit stop when we will go back to town. So as you see, I bought 17 adrenaline, now the hotshot upgrade, and now I'm running into the crystal. So that's it for the starter, now into F1 explanation. So, Earth in general have the most random world generation of all three worlds, but I will keep the overworld generation for another video, otherwise this one will be way too long. So first thing to do in Earth is to get the drifter sets to replace boots. These boots will give us 15 stamina regen per second, so we'll be able to sprint a lot more during the run than if we had just kept the 3 pieces under. Then we take the World 13 ski card and we are out. So on Earth 1 our only real enemy is map generation. Either when going to the seawall or when going to the bosses, the path will split. From there, usually the shorter path is the wrong one, you want to take the longest path. When they're both at the same distance, it's just a 50-50, so good luck here. For the first section here, just look for an item and run to the exit, or taking a run if you can, if there is someone on the way. Now into the sewer. Sewer is a really important zone for looting, because that's where we make most of our money and iron to upgrade later. And you have also a really good chance to stumble into an item, so keep your eyes open and be really careful not to die, because even while you know the mob and the zone, you can still die with a really tiny mistake. So this is the first key moment of the run. So now into the first bosses. So, the first bosses is the Gorefist or Shroud. Shroud have some RNG because he's teleporting around, while Gorefist has almost none. With good RNG, Shroud is a little shorter than Gorefist, but not that much. The fight is pretty straightforward on both cases, and the only strategy here is the Drifter exploit. The Drifter exploit allows you to equip 2 or 3 Drifter pieces if you have them, stack the effect to the maximum, so 5, and allow you to swap out every Drifter pieces except for one, in this case we keep the boot, and still have the full set damage bonus if you never lose these 5 stacks. So if you lose these stacks and go back to 4, you will then go back to the 1 pieces damage bonus instead of the 2 or 3. This way you can accumulate the Drifter set bonus with the Hunter set bonus, so you will usually have the 2 Hunter set bonus and the 2 or 3 Drifter set bonus while having equipped only 1 Drifter set species and 2 Hunter set pieces. If it's a little blurry for you, don't worry, I will explain it in a further video, but basically that allows us to deal 7.5% more damage when we did it. So let's move forward. So, into the second part of Earth 1, just run to the exit. If you stumble upon loot, take it. If you stumble upon an item, take it. But here we just wanna be quick and go to the exit. There is nothing special about this area. Now into metro station. It's almost the same as the sewer, but it's way less risky and way longer. In here, you wanna loot as much as you can without going out of your way, and there is also a good chance to stumble upon an item. Besides that, nothing special, so let's go into Mother Route. So, for the Mother Route encounter, there's a few things. First, do the Drifter exploit, so you can one-shot mobs with the rifle. Then, just kill monsters and loot them until the end of the timer, especially elites, since they drop Luminite and we want Luminite for money. But when the timer is near the end, something around 10 seconds, run to Mother Route, position yourself right behind her, and when the timer runs out, spam the iteration key, the moment when she go out of her chair. This way you will interact with her way earlier than intended and won't have to wait her unskippable dialogue line when she goes into the ground. And so you can just leave earlier, this save around 10 to 15 seconds if done well. So now enter our third speed stops. Let's go back into town. So, for this shopping session, we start by upgrading our rifle and armor. The rifle need to always be +5, so upgrade him as first, and armor as high as you can. I personally go for upgrading the helmet, since it's pieces I never switch out. So get it to somewhere between +1 and +4, and if you have some mats left over, upgrade another pieces. Then we go into consumable shopping, where we sell our own material, so boss material, luminite, and maybe iron if you have some left over and your upgrade is good enough. The goal here is to buy 30 adrenalines, 4 frenzy dust, and 1 or 2 ammo boxes so you can be faster around somewhere in the run. If you have some money left, go for more adrenaline so you can spam it, or some blood worth to not consume your dragon out. So now we head into Earth 2 and the Earthfall boss. We are now into Earth 2, which is pretty straightforward. The path to the end is always the same. The only little changements here and here are like, sometimes there's a crater here, sometimes there's not, but the global path is always the same. Since we just chopped, we don't give a damn about looting. We are basically done with iron, and the only thing that we want is item if you stumble upon one, or a consumable, something like ammo boxes or frenzy dust. The real danger here is to die. Gunners deal a lot of damage and can sometimes hit you a lot and sometimes not, it's RNG. The swamp mages are really annoying, they can stagger you, so if you are staggered you can take a lot of damage if gunner shot at you, and they spawn little mobs that follow you around, so they are really annoying. And finally the minigun guys, he can basically kill you in one go, it's really stupid. So when you saw one, either you kill it or you have some cover to go past him, otherwise it's really dangerous. So the goal here is to make it out alive to the world bosses. Earth world bosses. Is it at the end or Singe? The end is faster because we can use fire shot on him, but Singe has a more reliable weak spot. For both, you want to do the Drifter exploit and kill them. No real strat here besides being near the exit when you kill the bosses, so you can run instantly. On the tower map, you can cancel the stagger animation with an adrenaline shot. It's a really precise timing, but you can go for it anyway since it will mostly cancel your adrenaline shot and you will save time in the process. So now we are reading into ROM. Now into ROM. For ROM, path outside dungeon is always the same, so once you know it for every single run. The goal on ROM Overworld is to look for item and loot as much forged iron as you can, because we will need 10 of them, and it is really hard to get 10 of them every run. Besides that, don't die and run to the exit. Into the first ROM dungeon. Goal here is to get tons of forged iron while running and maybe an item on the way, because dungeon and ROM will be our main source of forged iron and we need 10 of them. For the bosses on this dungeon, you have 4 possible bosses, but we only want one of them, Houndmaster, otherwise it's a reset. Houndmaster is a boss we don't have to fight, we can run right through its room, so it's just a flat time save. You can recognize him by the look of the entrance, it's a rune entrance. Rune entrance is either Scourge or Houndmaster. And the name of the area, so when you enter the area, the name will be the Burrow. If it's not the Burrow, then the boss is Scourge and you don't want that. For ROM 2, as I said, all ROM Overworld are the same, so it's straightforward once you have the path. The path here is just stick to the left. Just keep an eye open for item, because there is no forged iron on here, so you just want to look for an item, and besides that just run straight into the exit. Into ROM bosses dungeon. It's either a rune, which means arrow as a boss, or a temple, which means claviger as a boss. In this area, same as the first dungeon, loot as much as you can, since we will upgrade right after the bosses. Otherwise, rune are pretty straightforward, it's the same as the last dungeon. Temple can be much more harder for newcomers to go through, because you can get lost or get killed pretty easily. Otherwise, just keep your eyes open, look at your minimap to don't get lost, and stay tuned for iron, forged iron, or items. For the bosses, here we want the arrow, because you can 1 or 2 phase him. When claviger, always take 3 phase, since we don't have the damage to make it 2. You can see that I got claviger here, so it loses some time, but it's nothing crazy compared to getting Houndmaster or not getting me. So on both scenarios, play it cool and safe. The hardest fight of the run is coming right after it, so you want to be in a good mental shape. But before, it's shopping time. In this second and last town section, we're going for the final upgrade on a weapon, so +6 or +7 depending on the loot you got, maybe some armor upgrade too, and then same as before, selling every match we don't use and buying 40 adrenalines, 6 frenzy dust, 6 bloodwort, and at least 2 ammo boxes. Extra bloodwort and ammo boxes are always welcome, and so we can jump into the oldest fight of the run, UDK, otherwise known as Undead King. Okay, so I won't speed this fight up so you can see everything that is happening here. So first thing, don't forget to equip your full Hunter set here to deal more damage, since every mob and the bosses have a weak spot beside ghoul, but we one-shot ghouls anyway, so to have optimum damage, don't forget to equip your full Hunter set. So when the dialogue is over, we hide ourselves behind the little pillar or behind something, pop your Hunter skill so you can see through walls. It's really important to get easy weak spot damage. Then we make sure to kill all the ads and also the little balls that the boss spawn. He almost spawns them every time right here. When you start dealing damage to him, will spawn a second wave that add. Right here you see that I messed up because he's spawning the ghoul and I don't want him to spawn the ghoul right now. So I kind of fucked up the fight, but it's okay. Be really careful about every ads in this fight. Every ads, ghoul or the other, can kill you very, very fast here. So now he's into his regen phase, so just kill the ghoul, be careful about your HP, and DPS him as much as you can to cancel this. There we go. So when we cancel this, the ghoul spawn stop, but the boss resume his standard phase, so spawning little balls and spawning ads, big ads. So now that he is down, we kill the ball, the ad that spawned, before the boss got up again. When he got up, we want to have our DPS set up. Sadly for me here, he spawned with his weapon back, so it surprised me a bit. When he have his weapon on, he can spawn ads or little balls, so we are pretty much safe here. And I trigger the second region phase, so it's just a free kill now and I'm running to the exit. If you can't run to the exit, just suicide yourself, so you get TP'd back on the crystal. So that's it for you, DK. He will have his own video, because there is a speed kill setup, and there's a lot more to say about the bosses, but that will be for a special video about him. So now into Yaesha. Onto Yaesha 1. Here we just want to run right at the exit. Luckily, the global layout is always the same, so the exit is always on the same spot and same direction. The only thing we want from Yaesha Overworld is some lucky item found, or the Earth of the Wolf Ring, which you can get via the bell melody on the middle of the map. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't, but if you get it on Yaesha 1, it's definitely worth getting it. Now into one of the most crucial point of the run, the jungle ambush. Now the jungle ambush, which is one of the most brutal encounters on the run. All mobs deal ton of damage, elite are super dangerous and you need some time to chunk them down. As usual, drift to exploit at the beginning. After shooting a few mobs, the first elite will spawn, which is a spearman. Just be careful about the crossbow mobs and you're fine for him. Upon killing it, a big axeman will spawn. He has a weak spot on his head, so he's pretty easy to kill. But now the real challenge begins. The mage will spawn, and you need to kill it as soon as possible, because he will buff all the mob damage, and as you guessed it, you can die really easily if he buffs them. When you take down the mage, if you have killed enough monsters, the two last elite will spawn instantly, otherwise just kill a few more mobs to make them spawn. There are two spearmen. One is the same as the first elite, and the second is an electric spearman, which deals more damage, and have a slightly different moveset. Same stuff as the first spearman, don't expose yourself to crossbow mob, kite them back, and respect them. On this part, you don't want to greed at all. Now that the unbunch is out of the way, into Yaesha 2 and the last bosses before Dreamers. Now we are into Yaesha 2. Same as Yaesha 1, the global layout is always the same, which means the right exit is always at the same spot. The thing you want here is to find the door on the middle of the map. Once you found it, the direction is top left corner of your minimap, and you will end up on the right path. Same as before, we don't want any loot beside a lucky item, but here, and from on, mobs will be really dangerous. These are axe throwing mob, which deal ton of damage. Launched projectile 2/2, and if you bump into a mage, he will buff all nearby mobs, so either kill it right away or dodge everything. Just be really careful around him. Into the last dungeon of the run. You have 4 possibilities here. Warden, which is pretty easy once mastered. Onslaught, which is tanky but when mastered also not that hard. Stormcaller, which is really dangerous and can chain stagger you. And Seer and Scald, which we have an exploit for, which make him pretty cooperative. You can see that I've got Stormcaller on this run, and haven't died from it. So it's probably the only boss who can really kill you, but can also be really fast to kill if you manage it well. Siren Skull is probably the slowest since you have 2 boss to kill, and now into the remain of Yeisha 2 and the path to Dreamer. So, as we went through the remaining of Yeisha 2 and go past the Great Door, it's now a 50-50. The final RNG drop. It's either Totem Father, which we are forced to fight, or Ravager, which we can skip by just performing the bell melody and go through. This make really good run happens around 1 out of 8 attempts in general, 1 out of 4 for Unmaster and 1 out of 2 for Ravager. So get ready to sweat, it can take a lot of attempts and a lot of time. Now only a few more steps before finishing the game. The cell of the founder of World 13 here. When you end the dialogue with him, either you kill yourself and TP to World 13, or quit and rejoin the game, which will force you to sit at the fire before Dreamer a little bit later. We are now running through World 13 and our goal here is to light up the mirror. For that, you need to get the fuse, swap your cards a few times and open a few doors. When placing the fuse, don't forget to activate it, because since it's the end of the run, you can forget it, and trust me, it can happen a lot, so don't forget it, and then Dreamer is waiting for you. So for Dreamer, same as UDK, we are going for the full Hunter set, because there are a shit ton of weak spot damage to deal in this fight. And we also swap out every movement or stamina gear, it's full damage setup time if you can. The first phase here is pretty simple, if you get a good pattern, he will just come to you, so just hit and run in and blast his head out. If not, just line up this headshot while dodging either way, it's pretty quick, and we are now into Nightmare. So, our goal here is to get a 2-phase Nightmare. For that, we will need around 10 stack hitting out of the Shadow Wheel each time. Before getting sent into the Shadow Wheel, don't forget to pop a Blood Words and an Adrenaline shot. Into the Shadow Wheel, be really careful, since it drains your HP down. There, you need to kill between 8 and 12 mobs to get between 8 and 12 stacks. Do the best as you can without dying. The note is, when you have killed 9 mobs, a shroud will spawn, and it can kill you very fast and very silently, the same shroud as the first bosses of the game. Before heading out of the Shadow Wheels, you want to pop an ammo boxes to refresh your armor, a Frenzy Dust, your Fire Shot, and your Hunter Spell, and heal if necessary. Then just blast the hell out of Nightmare. When you pop his guard down, reload instantly and burst his head as much as you can. The goal is to get him to half HP or less. Then he's on your back and rinse and repeat until he's dead. And when he's dead, congratulations, you have made it. Your first run on Remnant is done. So that is all for this run explanation. Hope you enjoyed. Lot of content incoming. Just did a 1 hour run yesterday, so I'm getting really close to the end of this series right now. Anyway, have a good one and see you in the next episode.